In the morning, I opened my eyes after a long coma and saw that the chair by the hospital bed was empty, the same one where my daughter should have been sitting next to me, smoothing out her hands with worry. The monitors were counting down. The nurse adjusted my IV and hesitated as if preparing for a question. "Has my daughter been here?" I asked, my lips dry at that moment. She exhaled. "Not recently." Not recently. I had slept for 9 days. 9 days is a lifetime when you are 72 and have machines helping you breathe. The nurse tried to be kind. "We left messages. She said she can't come yet. She's busy." My goal arose of its own accord to understand. Why isn't my daughter here? Why isn't anyone visiting me? It turned out that no one wants to meet me from the hospital after I am discharged. "We will need your immediate family for discharge planning," the nurse told me. The closest relative was my daughter. I was told she showed up once. She signed the notification form, checked the box labeled "call only in case of emergency," and left the sweater on the chair like it was a space she had no intention of filling. It's my sweater. She took it from my closet last fall when I told her it was too bright for me. Coral, with mother-of-pearl buttons. It looked warm. It felt like a lie. A nurse came up to me with a pen light. "Follow the light, Mrs. Hale." I followed it past a ceiling tile with a water stain shaped like a question mark. How could my own daughter do this to me? The child who once arranged my pills in a rainbow on the counter now shoved me aside like an unpaid bill. Grief has weight. Abandonment has echoes. But a coma is a strange teacher. Behind my eyes, I learned patience so sharp you could cut it. I learned schedules, names, the corners of a system that I thought would swallow me whole. It left me alone, but it also left me time. And time, at my age, is not a burden. It is a blade. The first day I could hold water without coughing into my lap, Nurse Lila thrust a phone into my palm. "Don't tell anyone," she whispered. "They think screens raise your blood pressure. I think answers lower it." Her braids were pinned up in a crown. She held herself as if she had already anticipated all the possibilities and had chosen the right one anyway. "Do I have messages?" My voice was like paper. "2 from the bank, 1 from a number signed Evelyn 3 weeks ago by Mom, I can't right now." She paused. "And the neighbor asks if you're home. She says you have a porch light on at night." I unlocked my phone, punched in the code, "wedding anniversary." The screen flickered to life. The bank alerts were dry and formal. Account activity, password, I shall reset attempt. I scrolled with a shaking thumb. My hands, at 72, had a life of their own, but they remembered a lot. "Can I make a phone call, sir?" I asked. 2 minutes, Lila said, then glanced down the hall. "Make it show." I called Alma, the widow who lived across the street and had taught my granddaughter to braid her hair that long cicada-filled summer. She answered on the second ring. "Ruth? Honey?" "I'm awake," I whispered. "Alma, the locks, did someone change them?" "Oh, I didn't mean to worry you. Your daughter called a locksmith the day after the ambulance, said it was for safety. Men were carrying boxes to her car. Young man, too. Tall. No relation. Did you see what they took? The file? The blue metal box, I think it was the one you keep under the hall table. And the tin with your mother's button collection, she said it was all clutter. I told her clutter doesn't breathe, and neither do memories. She didn't like that I closed my eyes to keep from fidgeting. The blue box held an old will, a deed, an account book where I kept track of which bills I paid and when. Not an essential item, but handy for those who wanted my life to be like a houseplant that could be moved. "Alma," I said, "I need a favor. Look under the second kitchen shelf, behind the oatmeal. There's a brown envelope taped to the bottom. How do I get there?" "The back window sticks but opens. Don't cut yourself." She snorted. "Please." I raised 3 boys and a dog named Rusty. I'm made of bandages. Her certainty brought me back into my body. We hung up. Lila pretended not to notice the tears I wiped with the corner of the sheet. In the afternoon, the social worker, Serena, came with a tablet and practiced concern. "Mrs. Hale, we're proposing a short-term rehab stay. You'll get stronger faster there." "Then I go home," I said. "We'll need to confirm you have support." I've supported myself for 72 years. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Medicare won't pay without a safe discharge plan. Your daughter mentioned exploring options for assisted living. Sunny Grove has a wait list, but she placed a deposit. The sooner we coordinate, the better. I'll consider, I said, which is something people say when they have no intention of agreeing. Serena marked something on her tablet. Her nails were the length of my granddaughter's thumb. That night, Lila dimmed the lights and pulled my curtain partway. 2 minutes again? She asked. You get ambitious when I'm off. Alma's photo came through at 10:30. The brown envelope held 3 things: a laminated sheet with my passwords, a photocopy of the deed, and a business card for Michael Rhee, elder law attorney. I had tucked them there last winter, not because I expected betrayal, but because I was raised in a house where men left for work and snowstorms might close the roads. You learned to plan for what you couldn't see, I called Alma. She whispered from my kitchen as if the walls had ears. There's mail stacked on the dryer, a letter from a bank I don't recognize, and a brochure, Sunny Grove. Your best years, simplified. Their picture of soup looks cold. Take the mail home, I said. Hide the envelope in your flower bin for now. If my daughter knocks, she'll smell dust before secrets. Ruth? Alma said, her voice softening. Do you want me to call Evelyn? I want you to answer the door next time she comes, I said, and I want you to tell her I'm awake. Then watch what she does. Alma didn't ask why. True friends don't always need the trail of breadcrumbs. They trust there's a kitchen at the end. By morning, the resident team had decided I was safe to transfer to the rehab down the road. Short stay, they promised. 2 weeks. Lila patted my hand as they wheeled me into the ambulance. 2 weeks is 14 days, she whispered. You can change a life in less time than that. The rehab smelled like lavender disinfectant and microwaved fish. My roommate watched game shows with the volume at a volume meant for people who confused noise with company. On day 2, a physical therapist named Marco taught me how to stand without straining, how to fall so I didn't break a hip, how to breathe when climbing 3 steps felt like Everest. You're stubborn, he said after I refused a rest break. I prefer reliable, I said between breaths. He grinned. I'll allow it. Each afternoon, Serena, or her equivalent, called to check in, as if my progress belonged to an office. Each time, my daughter did not call. The empty chair at the foot of my bed gathered dust the way a field gathers snow, patiently, inevitably, hiding what lies below. On day 4, Alma texted. She came, asked if you'd named me as backup. I told her I water your plants. She asked which ones. I said the fake fern. She didn't laugh. What did she want? She asked if any packages came. I said only junk. Then she asked if anyone had been inside. I said Rusty's ghost. That she laughed at. What did she do when you told her I'm awake? A pause. She said, that's good, and looked past me. Not at me. Like a person in a painting thinking of their next room, I stared at my hands. They were my mother's hands now. Veins like rivers tracing a map. I rubbed the wrongness between my fingers like I could grind it into something I recognized. On day 6, I called the number on Michael Rhee's card. He answered himself, which I liked. Mrs. Hale, he said, you don't know how many of my clients hide their lawyers like a disorder. You kept my card like a talisman. You taught the class at the library about wills and scams. I said, I liked that you didn't call adult children sweeties. I learned, he said dryly. What do you need? I need to stop something that's already started. Then we need paper, he said. Have you signed anything lately? Nothing, I said. But she took things from my house. The blue box, my old will. Old wills are for fireplaces, he said. We'll make a new one. And a trust. More important, we'll revoke any powers of attorney you may have given when you loved everyone more than they deserved. I never gave her one. Good. Then she can only pretend so far. His voice sharpened. Has anyone at a bank or hospital told you your daughter made decisions on your behalf? She changed my notification preferences here. And a locksmith changed my locks the day after the ambulance. Keep every name and time, he said. If she's pilfered, it will leave fingerprints. Pilfered, I repeated. The word was small, the act was not. Mrs. Hale, I can come to you. Hospitals are notary farms with better lighting. We'll start with revocations and a trust. And something else, an authorization for Alma to talk to banks and utilities while you're here. Alma will like that, I said. Also, one more thing, he added, as if saving dessert. We'll file a letter of instruction at your bank to flag unusual activity. Elder abuse units read those faster than emails. I slept better that night, not from fatigue, from direction. Evelyn finally visited on day 8. She didn't call ahead. She arrived at 7 in the evening when the volunteers were done and the staff counted pills. I recognized her perfume before I saw her. When she was 5, it was the smell of apples and dirt after recess. And at 38, it was white flowers that reminded me of weddings where 2 people made vows they did not understand. She paused in the doorway like a tourist. Hi, Mom. She glanced at my roommate, who sat propped up like a doll looking at a television that had already ended. You found time, I said, folding my hands so she couldn't see them shake. I've been busy. I had to organize the house. I had to make sure everything was secure. She looked at my nightstand and frowned at the glass of melted ice. No one's helping you with water? Marco lifted it for me when the ice still remembered how to be hard. She pulled up a chair and perched on the edge. I talked to Serena. We're looking at options. Sunny Grove has art classes. You always said you wanted to paint. I wanted to paint the living room, I said. Not a ceramic frog. She sighed, the sound she made when she was 12 and the casserole had a vegetable in it. Mom, this is about safety. You felt, I had a stroke, not a clumsy moment. It started with those little lapses, she said, eyes narrowing as if she'd found the story that made sense to her. Remember when you forgot to turn off the hose? I turned it off. The spigot leaked. I don't want to argue, she said, which meant she wanted to win. I have a lot going on. What do you have going on that can't wait for your mother to be awake? I asked. You told the hospital to call only if it was over. Color rose in her cheeks. I didn't want to be woken up for routine updates. I have a job. I have responsibilities. Like changing my locks? That was for your safety, she said. I had to protect your things. From whom? From people, she said vaguely, the way people do when they've forgotten the lie they told to themselves first. She stood, restless. Anyway, I came to tell you I put down a deposit at Sunny Grove. We should decide soon. Did you use my card? Of course, she said, as if the idea of using her own were both amusing and insulting. You're the one going. Sit down, I said. She sat. I kept my voice level because fury at my age is not the roar of youth. It's the hum that makes a house feel haunted. A lawyer will visit tomorrow. We're updating my documents. Alma has authorization to handle errands until I'm home. Alma? The word tasted sour in her mouth. You're trusting a neighbor over your daughter? I'm trusting the person who showed up, I said. We can talk about trust, Evelyn. But first tell me, why the rush? Her face did a small thing then, the flinch a deer makes when it realizes the light isn't the moon. She smoothed the coral sweater she had draped over the chair, the one she'd left like a witness who refused to testify. Time matters, Mom. For what? Good. Then she can only pretend, so far his voice sharpened. Has anyone at a bank or hospital told you your daughter made decisions on your behalf? She changed my notification preferences here, and a locksmith changed my locks the day after the ambulance. Keep every name and time, he said. If she's pilfered, it will leave fingerprints. Pilfered, I repeated. The word was small, the act was not. Mrs. Hale, I can come to you. Hospitals are notary farms with better lighting. We'll start with revocations and a trust. And something else, an authorization for Alma to talk to banks and utilities while you're here. Alma will like that, I said. Also, one more thing, he added, as if saving dessert. We'll file a letter of instruction at your bank to flag unusual activity. Elder abuse units read those faster than emails. I slept better that night. Not from fatigue, from direction. Evelyn finally visited on day 8. She didn't call ahead. She arrived at 7 in the evening when the volunteers were done and the staff counted pills. I recognized her perfume before I saw her. When she was 5, it was the smell of apples and dirt after recess. At 38, it was white flowers that reminded me of weddings where two people made vows they did not understand. She paused in the doorway like a tourist. "Hi, Mom." She glanced at my roommate, who sat propped up like a doll looking at a television that had already ended. "You found time?" I said, folding my hands so she couldn't see them shake. "I've been busy. I had to organize the house. I had to make sure everything was secure." She looked at my nightstand and frowned at the glass of melted ice. "No one's helping you with water?" Marco lifted it for me when the ice still remembered how to be hard. She pulled up a chair and perched on the edge. I talked to Serena. "We're looking at options. Sunny Grove has art classes. You always said you wanted to paint. I wanted to paint the living room," I said, "not a ceramic frog." She sighed, the sound she made when she was 12 and the casserole had a vegetable in it. "Mom, this is about safety." "You fell." "I had a stroke, not a clumsy moment." "It started with those little lapses," she said, eyes narrowing as if she'd found the story that made sense to her. "Remember when you forgot to turn off the hose?" I turned it off. "The spigot leaked." "I don't want to argue," she said, which meant she wanted to win. "I have a lot going on." "What do you have going on that can't wait for your mother to be awake?" I asked. "You told the hospital to call only if it was over." Color rose in her cheeks. "I didn't want to be woken up for routine updates. I have a job. I have responsibilities, like changing my locks." "That was for your safety," she said. "I had to protect your things." "From whom?" "From people," she said vaguely, the way people do when they've forgotten the lie they told to themselves first. She stood, restless. "Anyway, I came to tell you I put down a deposit at Sunny Grove. We should decide soon." "Did you use my card?" "Of course," she said, as if the idea of using her own were both amusing and insulting. "You're the one going." "Sit down," I said. She sat. I kept my voice level because fury at my age is not the roar of youth. It's the hum that makes a house feel haunted. "A lawyer will visit tomorrow. We're updating my documents. Alma has authorization to handle errands until I'm home." "Alma?" The word tasted sour in her mouth. "You're trusting a neighbor over your daughter?" "I'm trusting the person who showed up," I said. "We can talk about trust, Evelyn. But first, tell me, why the rush?" Her face did a small thing then, the flinch a deer makes when it realizes the light isn't the moon. She smoothed the coral sweater she had draped over the chair, the one she'd left like a witness who refused to testify. "Time matters, Mom." "For what?" "Tell them it's not his family," I said. "Send them the plate number if you have it." 2 hours later, officer came, said without a forced entry, "It's civil." I told him civil is what happens before war. Michael called in the evening. "We filed the trust," he said. "Your house is now owned by the trust. Trustees, you and Alma, as co-trustees if you're incapacitated. We'll add a corporate trustee once you're rested, so no one accuses Alma of anything. And one more thing, I pulled court filings. Your daughter petitioned for temporary guardianship last week. She did it while I was sleeping," I said, to make it real. "The hearing is Monday." He paused. "I'll be there. You will too if you're up for it. Bring your walker if you need it. Judges like props." I laughed then, the sound rusty but mine. "I'll bring my mind. It's sharper. Even better," he said. The morning of the hearing, I dressed in the clothes Alma brought from my house. Navy slacks, a white blouse, low shoes. She stood behind me while I buttoned, steadying nothing and everything. "You look like the library board will regret speaking to you," she said, admiring. "I hope they do," I said. We arrived at the courthouse 30 minutes early. The marbled hallway smelled like wax and old arguments. Michael met us outside the courtroom, his tie loose enough to suggest he could breathe. "Rules," he said. Don't interrupt. Don't look at your daughter when she lies. Look at the judge. When you answer, use full sentences. The court thinks in complete thoughts. I do too, I said dryly. Evelyn stood at the other end of the hall with a man I didn't know. The snake tattoo peeked from his cuff. He kept his hand on her shoulder like a brand inspector. She saw us and lifted her chin. Her eyes had the sheen of someone who has slept badly for weeks because the story keeps waking her. When our case was called, we sat at separate tables. Evelyn's lawyer was young, his hair too neat for honesty. He presented her as a daughter who had stepped up in a crisis, who needed temporary authority to make decisions for a mother confused and vulnerable. He mentioned my age, my fall, the length of my hospital stay. He produced a letter from a doctor I had never met, clipped to a form, filled in with boxes ticked just shy of incapacitated. When it was our turn, Michael didn't stand right away. He let silence ask its own questions. Then he presented facts like stones stacked into a wall, capacity evaluation performed yesterday, normal cognition, revocations filed, trust established, bank alerts triggered by attempted additions, photos of boxes removed by a man with a snake tattoo, police report number even if the officer called it civil. He slid each piece forward as if building a path for the judge to walk across. Finally, he nodded to me. I stood on my own. My legs shook, but held. Your Honor, I said, I was alone when I woke from a coma. The first voice I heard was my nurse's. The second was my neighbor's. My daughter changed my locks before I could swallow water. She set my phone to call her only if I died. I am not confused. I am not a child. I am a woman who planted a lemon tree, raised a daughter, taught third graders to read, and buried a husband. I am vulnerable only to love, and I require that it be honest. The judge watched me the way a person watches weather shift. Mrs. Hale, do you understand the consequences of refusing a guardian? I understand the consequence of giving one to the wrong person, I said. Evelyn's lawyer objected to something vague. The judge overruled him, tired. Then Michael played the message. It was a recording from the rehab's main line. A voice, my daughter's, asking the bed manager about turnover. Not the right word. The manager corrected her, discharge, and she said lightly, right, for my mother. Just let me know when the room is available for someone else. It was not a crime. It did not need to be. It was truth without sugar. The judge denied the guardianship. He ordered supervised access to my home while I was in rehab. He suggested counseling, as judges do when the law can't teach kindness. He looked at me, and for a moment he looked like my husband the first time we danced, unsure of the steps, but willing to follow my lead. Outside, Evelyn rounded on me. You humiliated me, she hissed. The man with the snake tattoo lingered by the elevator, pretending to check his phone. I protected myself, I said. You could have helped. Instead, you hurried. You think you're so clever, she said. You think you can control everything. I think I can control what happens to my house and my heart, I said. You wanted both. Her mouth trembled. You don't know what I'm dealing with. Then tell me, I said. Tell me why you needed me gone. He glanced at the man by the elevator, then back at me. For a moment, I saw my girl again, 8 years old and hiding a broken vase. It's complicated, she said. Complicated doesn't steal a coffee maker, I said. She laughed, a brittle crown of thorns. You always focus on the wrong thing. What's the right thing? I asked. She didn't answer. She walked to the man by the elevator. He took her hand like a vice. They left without looking back. Michael exhaled. That went as well as it could have. Winning feels like walking out of a burning house with only what you could carry, I said. We'll get the rest, he replied, on slowly, properly. Back at rehab, Marco made me walk the length of the corridor and back. Court steps count as cardio, he said cheerfully. On my 10th day, Serena returned, a paper smile pinned under her real one. We can discharge you tomorrow, she said, home with visiting nurse and physical therapy. Alma agreed to stay the first night. Good, I said. I have plans. Be careful, she said, surprising herself. I am careful, I said. I am also done being careful for other people. Home smelled wrong. Not bad, just arranged by a hand that didn't know where I put the ladle, which is next to the stove because soup and stoves were invented together. Alma carried bags inside and opened windows. Dust motes danced like the pollen of old events. The lemon tree glowed in its pot, leaves glossy as if it had been listening for me. We took inventory. The blue box, gone. The coffee maker, gone. The framed photo of my mother, gone. The button tin, gone. My husband's cufflinks, the cheap ones shaped like anchors he bought when we were poor and his shirt needed holding together twice. Surprisingly still there, tucked in a dish as if no one had recognized what held weight. I ran my hand along the hall table where the blue box had lived. My fingers found the nick where my husband dropped his keys the day he learned he would retire, not by choice. I breathed. "Let's make tea," I said, and Alma nodded as if I'd asked her to help lay a cornerstone. The first day home, I changed my mailing address again. I canceled the locksmith's code she had set. I called the insurance and added a rider for removal by family, which felt like writing a paradox onto a form. I labeled the drawers in thick black marker in case a stranger needed to find a fork. I did not cry when I opened the closet and found empty hangers where my winter coat had been. I put on a sweater and kept moving. On day 2, the visiting nurse came, middle-aged, tired, efficient. She changed my bandage where the IV had irritated my skin. She checked my blood pressure. "You're doing well," she said. Keep walking. Eat protein." "I'm busy," I said. She smiled without asking with what. On day 3, I called the detective whose card Michael had given me. "Elder abuse," it said. The detective was a woman with a voice like gravel, worn smooth by rain. "We can't arrest her for being unkind," she said. "But if she forged or coerced, we can follow that." "I don't want a cell for my daughter," I said. "I want a mirror." "That's harder to file," she said, not unkindly. "I know," I said. "I also want the man with the snake tattoo to stop entering my house." "We'll talk to him," she said. I bought a small camera and tucked it into the bookshelf, not because I wanted to catch anyone, but because I was tired of not seeing what happened when I turned away. I hate the way vigilance feels like a second job. The next time Evelyn came, she knocked with the knuckles of someone who still thinks knocking grants permission. Alma was with me at the kitchen table, sorting the stack of mail like a deck I had to learn to play again. Evelyn stepped inside and saw Alma and stiffened. "I didn't know you were visiting hours," she said. "Coffee?" I asked. "I bought a new maker. Less fancy. It makes coffee, not a lifestyle." She ignored the cup. "We need to talk about the house." "We do," I agreed. "It belongs to a trust." "You and your lawyer," she said, as if the word itself was a betrayal. "You don't trust me?" "You changed my locks while I was in a coma," I said. "What would you call that?" "Preparation," she said. "You always wait too long." "You waited to move after Dad died? You waited to sell the car when you stopped driving at night? You waited to see if the leak would fix itself." "The leak did fix itself," I said. "The plumber fixed it." She rolled her eyes, a young woman's gesture on a grown woman's face. "Mom, I have debts." There it was, plain as the floor. "How much?" "Enough," she said. "I'm working on it." "With a man who steals printers?" "He borrowed it," she said without conviction. "He's helping me." "We're working on a business." "What kind of business?" Alma asked, gentle the way she is with stray cats. "Reselling," Evelyn said. "Flipping. It's legal." "Some of it," Alma said mildly. Evelyn set her jaw. "We're not doing this." She reached into her bag and pulled out a piece of paper. "If you love me, sign this." I took it. It was a quitclaim deed. From me to her. No money. Just love. Written in a font chosen by someone who confuses clean lines with cleanliness. "No," I said, and handed it back. "I won't sign my house to your debt." "You think I'll lose it," she said. "I think you already have," I said. "Not the house." Yeah, your way." Her face crumpled and then reassembled. "You're cruel." "I am careful," I said. Cruelty would be signing and watching you drown with a roof. She stood so quickly her chair scraped the floor like a reprimand. "I'll be back with a lawyer," she said. "Bring one," I said, rising more slowly. "Bring one who doesn't think capacity is a synonym for inconvenience." When the door closed, Alma let out a breath she'd been holding since the first knock. "You sure?" she asked softly. "No," I said, "but I'm done being sure for her." The camera caught the next trespass 3 days later. The man with the snake tattoo. Noon. He used a key, which meant there was a key out there shaped like my house. He went straight to the study, pulled out the bottom drawer, took the stamp collection my husband pretended had value, mostly so he could arrange the world into albums. The detective came, watched the clip, nodded. "We'll have a chat," she said. "What's his name?" "I only know his tattoo," I said. "We'll find the rest," she replied. They found him that night. He had 4 names, none of which belonged entirely to him. He said the stamps were a gift. He said he thought I was too old to care. He said Evelyn owed him, and he was just making it right. The detective called and asked if I wanted to press charges. I thought of my daughter's face when she said it was complicated. I thought of my husband touching the albums like prayer books. "Yes," I said, I want a record. They arrested him for burglary. They did not arrest my daughter. I did not expect them to. I expected nothing by then except my own next step. Evelyn came the next day, eyes red, voice sharp. "You had him arrested? He stole from me. He was going to give it back." "Then he should have asked," I said. "He did," she flared. "I asked you for help. You hung me out to dry." "You asked me to drown with you," I said. "I swam." She threw her hands up. "You think he's the problem?" "He's not. The problem is you. You keep everything. You keep the house. You keep your opinions. You keep your secrets." "I kept you alive," I said. "I kept you fed. You're mad I kept my name on my life?" "You don't get it," she said. And for a moment, her voice broke in a way that wasn't anger. "They're going to take my car. They're going to garnish my wages. I needed something fast. I thought—" She stopped, bit the inside of her cheek the way she did when she studied for finals in high school. "I thought you didn't need it." "I need my home," I said. "I need to wake up where the lemon tree knows my breath." "You and your tree," she said, with a tired contempt that hid envy. "Fine. Keep it. See if it keeps you company when you fall again." "Evelyn," I said quietly, "did you sign anything in my name?" She stilled. "Because if you did, we can fix things." "If you did, and you tell me now, I will choose how this ends. If you make me find it, the ending won't be yours." She looked at the floor, at the chair, at anywhere but me. "You always make it a test," she whispered. "I make it a truth," I said. She left and didn't slam the door. The not slamming sounded worse. The detective called that evening. "He confessed to more," she said. "He says she told him where to find the key. He says she said you wouldn't notice." "Thank you," I said, and hung up. I sat in the kitchen with the lemon tree from us framed in the window and paid the bills Alma had sorted into stacks. Electricity, water, property tax. I wrote checks as if writing could weave a net under me. I was halfway through when I saw it, a statement from a credit card I did not have, a balance I did not make, charges from a gas station across town, a boutique, a pawn shop. The account had been opened 3 weeks before my stroke. I called Michael. He answered on the second ring as if he knew the exact weight of the moment. "Identity theft," he said after I explained. "We'll freeze your credit. We'll file a police report. We'll send a letter to the creditor. We'll ask for the application. If it has your forged signature, we'll add forgery to the list." "And my daughter?" I asked. "We'll see if the forgery fits her hand," he said. And it did. The application came with a signature that looked like mine if I'd been holding the pen between my toes. The address was mine. The phone number was hers. The email was one she made in college with a dot and a number and an adjective she thought described her better than her name did. Michael brought the papers to the detective. The detective called me in for a statement. I took my walker, not because I needed it that much anymore, but because I liked the way it warned people I was slower but unstoppable. You understand we can pursue charges against her, the detective said. It won't be quick. It will be messy. Families always are. I understand, I said, and felt the ache in my chest that was not medical. I don't want prison to raise my daughter. I want consequences to what would that look like, she asked. Paper, I said, and truth, in a line she can't cross again. Michael drafted an agreement, restitution for the stolen items, repayment plan for the fraudulent card, no entry order for my home without my consent, relinquishment of any claim to my finances, mandatory counseling with proof of attendance. If she violated, we would proceed with charges. If she complied, we would hold the sword by its handle, not its blade. Evelyn came to my house to sign. She brought the coral sweater, as if fabric could function as a bridge when words were tired of being planks. She read the papers with her lips moving, like a child sounding out a hard lesson. You're serious, she said without looking up. I am, I said. I will not be your line of credit, Evelyn. I will not be your waiting room. She signed. Her hand shook. She did not meet my eyes. When she finished, she set the pen down as if it weighed more than the paper. I don't have the money, she said. Not all at once? No one does, I said. You will pay what you can each month, and you will show me the receipts for your counseling, not because I want to mother you, because I want you to become someone who doesn't need mothering. She laughed then, a single dry sound that could have been a sob in disguise. You always think there's a better me inside me. I have to, I said. If there isn't, I have to grieve. I'm not ready to do that while I'm learning to climb stairs without stopping. She took the coral sweater from the chair and held it absent-mindedly, like a talisman. Do you think I'm a bad person? I think you're a drowning person who learned to pull, I said. I think you can learn to float. Float, she repeated, as if tasting a new food. Or swim, I said. Swimming is better. You go places. That night, Alma and I ate soup at the kitchen table. We didn't talk about victory. We talked about the lemon tree and whether it would bear this year and how your body knows the exact shape of your house in the dark. We laughed at something small. It felt like faith. Weeks passed. I walked the block without stopping. The nurse discharged me with a hug that smelled like mint and hand sanitizer. I cut back the rose bush that had grown wild in my absence. I learned to sleep without my ears pricked for a key that wasn't mine. Evelyn sent proof of counseling. She sent $25 the first month, then $50, then $75. It was not enough to matter to my bank account. It mattered to the part of me that had a ledger other people couldn't read. One afternoon, her text arrived like a knock. Can I come by? Wait, she wrote. I won't ask for anything. Come, I wrote back. She stood in my doorway with a plastic carrier. Inside, a lemon tree cutting, a twin to mine. The woman at the nursery said it might take years to fruit, she said. I said I know how to wait. We set the cutting on the table and looked at it like a photograph of a child we both recognized and didn't. It will need careful water, I said. Not too much. I can learn, she said. We sat. She didn't fill the silence with explanations. I didn't fill it with instructions. We talked about small things, the neighbor's barking dog, the way the afternoon light hit the floor like honeyed ropes. Finally, she said, I haven't been good. I know, I said. I thought you'd hate me. I don't know how to hate you, I said. I know how to not let you harm me. She looked at her hands. He's gone, she said. The one with the tattoo. He said I attracted drama and found a new project. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it, even though I disliked him. I'm not, she said, surprising me. It's quieter without having to account for someone else's storms. I nodded. Quiet is underrated. I'm applying for a second job, she said. At night, just for a while. You'll be tired, I said. I'm already tired, she said. At least this way, the tired will pay something back. She stood to leave and hesitated. Mom, the word contained both child and adult. When you were asleep, I came and put the sweater on the chair. I thought it would look like I was there. I thought that mattered. It mattered to the person who took the picture for me. I said. They wanted me to see love. I wanted you to see forgiveness before I asked for it, she said. I realize that's not how it works. No, I said gently. Forgiveness is after, not before, she nodded. I'll see you next week. After she left, I sat at the table and looked at the cutting. I thought of the judge, of Marco, of Lila, of Alma, carrying my kitchen back into my kitchen. I thought of how absence can be an instrument and how presence can be a plan. In the fall, the lemon tree bloomed out of season. I stood at the sink with my hands in the dishwater and smelled the flower and laughed. Alma came over and we toasted with iced tea to miracles that don't ask permission. Evelyn came that weekend with soil under her nails and asked if I had any extra steaks. The cutting is leaning, she said. It will straighten if you give it something to hold, I said, and handed her two. At Thanksgiving, my table was set for 3. We ate the kind of meal you can only cook when you've lived in a kitchen long enough to know the noise a pan makes when it's ready. Evelyn arrived with a pie she had actually made, not bought and removed from a bakery box, and a small envelope with receipts paper-clipped in neat rows. I'm getting there, she said. You are, I said. After dinner, we walked out to the porch. The evening air had that sharpness that hints at snow. The lemon tree rustled faintly in its pot, the way living things do when they're not entirely asleep. Evelyn leaned on the railing and looked at the street she'd grown up knowing where the cracks in the sidewalk would catch her toe. Do you think you'll ever trust me like before? She asked, not looking at me. No, I said, because truths, like knives, are safer sharp. I don't trust you the way I trusted you when you were 10 and I could see your whole world in your backpack. But I can trust you another way. I can trust the way you show up now. I can trust receipts. I can trust the plant you brought will need water on Thursdays because that's your late shift and you'll be home by 9. Trust is not a blanket. It's a quilt. We sew it piece by piece. She nodded. I can sew. Then sew, I said, and stop borrowing fabric you can't return. We stood in silence until the porch light clicked on automatically, a small sun consenting to be useful again. I thought of the day I woke to the empty chair, of the coral sweater that looked like love and wasn't, of the water stain shaped like a question mark. The question had been answered not with a cresting moment of triumph, but with a long series of deliberate steps that led me back into my own house. Revenge had not been fire. It had been paperwork and boundaries and the kind of persistence that looks like boredom to people who have never built a life. When the first frost came, I moved the lemon tree inside. I placed the cutting beside it. The two stood together, leaves catching the thin winter light. On a Tuesday that felt like any other, a small green fruit appeared on the older tree, the size of my thumbnail. I texted a picture to Evelyn. Look, I wrote, proof. She sent back a single word. Hope. I don't know what our ending will be. I know what mine looks like today. My own bed, my name on my mailbox, my passwords in a new envelope taped where only I know, my walker in the closet like an old soldier on leave. I know the satisfaction of watching a boundary hold. I know the quiet joy of a lemon forming in November, a reminder that time is not a threat when you own it. And if you want to know how I learned to hold my life with a steady hand after the person I loved tried to take it, you have to understand this. They left me alone, and I found out I am my own company. The plan I kept hidden under winters and worries was not cleverness. It was love for the woman I would be when storms came. It was the strength they didn't see because it was quiet. But to understand how this quiet turned into a voice my daughter could finally hear, you have to go back again to the years where small choices became stone steps and to the day I decided that surviving wasn't enough.
My grandma told me this story. I have many more stories. Subscribe so you don't miss the most interesting things.